decided to do a little video since the number one asked questions has pretty much been, you know, which truck do you prefer the most, the Classic or the W900? And I guess I'll do a little bit of a just head-to-head, so to speak, at least, you know, what I think about both trucks and what I think one truck is better than the other, or if they're equal to one another, whatever the case is. Got to check out here real quick with the security guard, give him paperwork, open the doors. Beautiful, beautiful day out here today. It's about 52, maybe 53. Nice and sunny. Back to the question, right? What truck do I prefer the most? Do I like the W900 or do I like the Classic better? You know, honest to God, man, there's no easy answer to that. I absolutely love both trucks. The W900 is a little dear, you know, dear to my heart. It's closer to my heart. I've had one before that I dearly, dearly loved and enjoyed. Hated it when I had to get rid of it, and I don't know what's my love with it, but it's a lot to do with everything as far as, you know, the looks, the way it drives, the way the you know, dashboard is, so to speak, and how close it is with the passenger side, and it looks like it's, you know, it's a little tightly compacted. The room in the back obviously is fine, and you know, on the Classic, I love the look of the Classic too. Maybe not the Classic how it comes stock. I do like what I did with it a little bit better as far as you know, if you do a Pete style step, or even the Freightliner steps, but just a little bit smaller, so you can do like Pete style exhaust on it. And now when they come from the cab, they look, I don't know, to me it looks a little off, where they just start from the bottom of the cab over to the top. And then the panel extension, so it sort of looks you know, it makes the cab look much bigger than what it actually is, but also tightens up the spot in between the steps, you know, by the hood, by the fuel tanks, and it sort of looks more of a beefy truck and not just, you know, just so empty, and you can pretty much see through and through if you look low enough on the truck. So I do like that a lot. What I don't like about Freightliners, you guys that have had them before, especially the old freight shakers, is, well, they call them freight shakers for a reason. They do shake a lot. I'm sure the old ones, where the name came from, you know, shakes a lot more than the new ones or the newer ones. You know, even as new and as old as the Classic was, it doesn't shake as much as it did way back, you know when, so to speak. But what I don't like about them as well is the doors never seal right. No matter how much you close them, no matter what kind of seal you get, no matter how new or how old the damn truck is, there's always, especially if you get crosswind, there's always wind that comes in from the damn door. That seal just lets in too much. So I don't know if it's just a, you know, poor design or what. Even, you know, like the Coronado that I've had did the same thing, which is a completely different truck than what a Classic or what the FLD, you know, cab is, but still did the same thing. I do love the dash on the Classic as well. You know, how it's low by the, you know, by straight from the driver, but then it kind of goes up a little bit where the other gauges are, and then the parking brake and everything else, and most of the switches. I do love that as well. What I don't like is, because how big the truck is from passenger to driver and where the transmission is, I don't like that stupid shifter that goes straight up, comes across, and then goes back up. It just, I don't know, it looks weird to me. I know why they do it, but it just doesn't look good. And I know plenty of Kenworth and Peterbilts have the same thing. You know, your T2000s, your T700, which I think was what replaced, can't even talk, the T2000, and then the T680 that followed. Those are still coming to manual trans. They still have that. The P387s, the 587s, which I believe replaced the 387 and whatever the, you know, the numbers is now. The Freightliners, whether it be Coronado, Columbia, Century, you know, they all have that. I don't like it, honest to God. I really don't like that style of shifter like that. I feel like the Kenworth is maybe a little bit better built truck, and I might piss off a lot of people with this. It's a little bit more like hermetically sealed, so to speak. Maybe a little quieter in the cab as a result of it. This particular one, not really, because it does have a sunroof, and that glass is so thin that, you know, it does bring a lot of noise in. And then now you got a heavily tuned engine on this one, a Cat with straight pipes. Yeah, this bitch ain't quiet, and it's not gonna be quiet. But as far as driving is concerned, I think the W9 drives a little bit smoother than the Classic. But I mean, they're pretty close to one another. This one, how the front lip spring was, it's a, you know, especially with the low air suspension in the back, which is the really small airbags and not the big 8 small airbags. You know, they're made for heavy hauling stuff. They're great for that, but I'm sure you could probably spec a Classic for that sort of stuff too. You know, obviously the Classic that I had, being a Detroit, was better on fuel consumption than this particular W900 is, especially with the Cat engine. But if I believe if you were to still put a Detroit on this as well, which these come with a Detroit, the Classic, I think it'll be still a little bit better on fuel mileage just because of how high the roof is, and it's able to channel the air on top of the trailer, especially if it's not too long of a frame, so the gap between the back of the truck and the trailer is not huge. And the W9, the way it is, especially if it doesn't have that top air dam that comes with, I just don't like that. It looks kind of funky. You know, looks better on the T600s, the T660s. You know, they're a little bit more of an aerodynamic truck, so I guess they look a little bit better with that stuff on there. I actually love the look of the W9. One of the reasons is because it's not all the way up high, and the little spoiler you can put, the whale tail spoiler that I put myself to, is I really do love the look of it. And it's, you know, it does function a little bit better as far as channeling air on top of the trailer. It's not as good as it would be if it was a high cab like that, but, you know, better than nothing. Another thing that I love the Classic more than the W900 is parts. Availability and price. You can buy Freightliner parts at a AutoZone. Can't buy Kenworth parts anywhere. You gotta, you know, most likely go to the dealership. And Jesus Christ, are they expensive. I've touched this on the other videos before, where a little isolated bushing, just two little rubber bushings that go around the two bearings for the steering column, and a little bit of a glue or whatever it was, there was $48 for those two little things. The two little brackets for the cab shocks and the cab airbags, $250 each. Crazy, stupid. If I were to get all of the radiator hoses, the 4-inch, just the metal part, which there's two on the bottom, there's like a 90-degree elbow, and then there's a little 45-degree, and then the top one, I think it's 3 pieces. They're damn near $1,100 from the dealership. Where if you go to Freightliner, for the Freightliner, about the same amount of, you know, pipe material probably costs you half as much. Detroit diesel parts are also a lot cheaper than Cat parts, at least in my experience. I don't know if it's everything or just, you know, a few things, but at least most things that I've seen are cheaper. So that's a huge negative, I think, if you were to compare the two trucks together. And pricing, I believe that also goes for Peterbilt. PACCAR makes the parts for both. If they're expensive for one, they got to be expensive for the other one as well. I don't know. That's what logic tells me. Anyway, you guys that have Peterbilts, please comment below. Let me know. Like I said, I think they would be the same since PACCAR makes them, but I could be completely wrong. Even aftermarket parts, even, you know, chrome parts, seems to be a little bit cheaper for the Freightliner than it is for the Kenworth. Part of it may be the demand for Kenworths are much higher than what Freightliners is, and maybe that's what drives it, but, you know, not sure. As far as pure looks, if you were to put, you know, all the hood trucks out there, whether it be, you know, the Internationals, the Kenworths, the Peterbilts, the Freightliners, honest to God, if they're all done right and they're not done too much over the top, I would pick a W900 any day of the week. It just, in my personal opinion, that's what looks better to me. Just because it looks better to me doesn't mean that it's the best looking truck, period. You know, it's like, picking, I think, and I'm probably going to piss off a lot of people for this, but it's like picking, you know, Ford from Mercury. You guys that aren't old enough to remember Mercury, Mercury used to be a brand of Ford, and they had identical cars. You take a Ford Taurus and a Mercury Sable and you put them together, there's very little bit difference. They're identical cars, just different badging and just a little bit of different external designs. Same thing with the Mountaineer and the, was it the Explorer or the Escape? One of the medium-sized SUV. Hell, you know, back in the day, you could even put the Lincoln Navigator along with the Ford Expedition. Yeah, there were, you know, visual differences, but it was the same damn car. Yeah, maybe the Lincoln brand was just a little bit more luxurious. So it's like, especially between Peterbilt and Kenworth, it's like you're choosing essentially the same brand. Obviously, there's differences between both trucks, but they're made by the same company, and they share a lot of the same parts. When it comes to drivetrain, you can spec them identical to one another. Just the look that's a little bit different. But like I said, just to me, the W9 looks a little bit better. Just the way that everything is, how much tighter the hood is, and how much taller it has to be. As far as the hood is concerned, the overall height of the truck, they're both the same. Obviously, they can't be more than 13.6. But as far as what it looks like from the front, to me, it looks like a freight train. Where the Peterbilt, it's a little bit more squarey. I mean, obviously they're both boxy trucks, but the Kenworth, excuse me, looks a little bit meaner in my eyes. Like I said, just in my eyes alone. And I'm probably going to raise a lot of eyebrows for this, but close to that, honestly, I would probably pick the Classic over the Peterbilt. I don't know why. I do like the fact that the lights are on the fender on the Classic, where on the Peterbilt, you know, they're mounted to the hood and the grille. You know, some look cleaner that way, some look cleaner the other way. It just, in my eyes anyway, that's what they feel. That's what it seems like. As far as how they drive, I don't know. I've never driven a Peterbilt long enough to be able to determine that. I've driven them, don't get me wrong, but not for months and months and months at a time to be able to tell you, you know, hey, it's quieter than this or quieter than that. So I couldn't speak on that. I really couldn't. As far as maintenance is concerned, you know, maintenance is maintenance. Both old trucks need it. You can do it on your own just as easily on one truck from the other. You know, if you know how to do that sort of stuff. But going back to what I said earlier, is maintenance obviously is going to maybe be a little bit higher on the Kenworth, simply because parts are a little bit more expensive than they are on the Freightliner, on the Classics. I would suggest this, honest to God, you guys. If somebody is new would ask me, hey, you know, what sort of truck would you recommend for a new owner operator, and they wanted a hood truck, meaning a long nose truck, I would honestly say, you know, start with a Freightliner with a Detroit motor. Love a Detroit 12.7 without the EGR, obviously before the emissions. The 12.7 with the EGR, I've had really, really bad experiences with. I haven't really heard that many good things from people anyway. The 14-liter was better than the 12.7 with the EGR, but I still wouldn't take it over the 12.7 without the EGR. So this is pre-emissions, 2003 and under. So honestly, I would say, hey, pick a Freightliner Classic with the 12.7 Detroit and go to work. You know, it's a reliable truck. it's cheaper to maintain, it's cheaper to fix when something goes wrong, and parts are a little bit more easier to find than they are for Kenworth, the W900s anyway. That's what I would personally recommend. You know, I'm sure plenty of you guys think differently. I'd love to know what your guys' preference would be and why. Leave it in the comments below. If you have time, obviously. It's one of those things where it's not a short answer. That's why I chose to do this video, is because, you know, when you reply to a comment just by writing a comment back, you can't really get into detail because it just takes too long, and you don't want to write a whole essay and have somebody be bored with, as soon as they open it, they see how long it is, like, yeah, forget it. Where maybe on the video it feels like it's maybe a little bit more, it'll be more likely than not, it'll be viewed more, or at least more is heard. As far as the sleeper space, so on my Classic, I had the short, not the very short one, but it wasn't the big 84-inch cab. I think mine was a 77 or 78. And correct me if I'm wrong for any of you guys that know. So obviously, cab space between this truck and my Classic, this one has a little bit more because it has a studio sleeper. It's an 86-inch sleeper. It's not as high as the Classic was, but it's still plenty high. It's still a double bunk. You still got plenty of room for another person to be up, guy, gal, whatever the case is. You can still stand up on it, not have to really worry about anything. Where on the Classic, the floor is one level between the cab and the sleeper. On a W9, and also on the Peterbilt, there's a step down between the floor of the cab and the floor of the sleeper. I do like the cab also a little bit more on the Freightliner. There's more room for compartments because of how high it is and how hard it's, you know, it starts going up. You know, where you could have your, you know, the things that you use the most, whether it be on the side top or on the very front and top, where this one doesn't really have anything out here because how small the cab is, but it's got plenty of room in the back. Cabinet space, I think this one has a little bit more than what my particular Classic did. I'm not sure about the 84-inch Classic. I'm sure you probably got, you know, more cabinet space than what my Classic had, being that it's a bigger cab anyway. I do like the fact that the seats are closer on the W9 until I have to go in the back and I gotta squeeze in between this crap. But if I'm just driving, and especially if there's a passenger, they're close to me, you could have a normal conversation, especially in this thing being so damn loud from being a straight pipe. You know, it doesn't feel like we need an intercom to talk to one another. Alright guys, that's pretty much it for this one. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave any comments, any questions, whatever you guys have. If I can't answer them right away, and then just type a comment back to you, I'll address them in future videos. That's for sure. And honestly, let me know if there's a particular video you guys want to see. I'll do the best I can to accommodate that. You know, based on if it's something that I can or can't do, or if I know or not. If I don't know, it's something I can research. You know, willing to do that for you guys, no problem at all. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Honestly, you guys, thank you so much. If you're new to the channel and you like what you see, please consider subscribing. Leave a comment. thumbs up, thumbs down, however you think the video applies to you. And we'll see you guys on the next one.